And now it's 6. Extreme weather as some areas of Alaska have seen winds over 90 miles per hour.
We have team coverage on this today. Our Joel Allgood is checking out conditions right now, but we're going to start with Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry with the latest warnings. Melissa.
Yeah, we are still seeing those high wind warnings in effect tonight for the Anchorage Bowl. Again, we've already seen wind gusts over 80 miles per hour and those strong winds continuing through about 10 o'clock tonight. So still be on alert. We've already seen wind gusts to near 91 miles per hour in the higher elevations around Girdwood, to 58 miles per hour in Sterling. Those high winds in Portage, Whittier, all the way into Palmer with peak wind gusts near 61 miles per hour. Now in town, highest winds were out near Fort Richardson at 54 miles per hour, but up to 45 at Ted Stevens. And those winds on the Anchorage hillside between 80 and 90 miles per hour this afternoon. So again, the high wind warning for the most extreme winds on the Anchorage hillside through 10 p.m. But even in town, still seeing occasional gusts as high as 55 miles per hour through this evening. The winds will taper off, but the rain is going to pick up after 10 o'clock. I do expect heavier rain to push into the Anchorage Bowl. Be prepared for very wet conditions from the Kenai Peninsula all the way north into the valley. Multiple flood watches and warnings are in effect because of this heavy rain. Again, we're talking an additional 1 to 3 inches of rain in the valley, similar amounts in Seward and across Prince William Sound. But even Anchorage likely seeing an additional 1/2 inch of rain overnight tonight, and that is the reason for these widespread flood watches and warnings. Now, Joe Allgood is on the Anchorage hillside where we are seeing some of those most extreme conditions. Joe, how's it feeling out there?
Yeah, well, I'm having to brace myself against the wind here, and you can tell by the grass because that it's just super gusty. It is incredible. This wind coming down across the mountains behind me and whipping through the Bear Valley here. It's incredible. Anyone who hasn't already taken their trash cans or their patio furniture inside, it's probably already flown away. And just to show you the sheer power of the wind, I'll show you right here with this umbrella. It doesn't even hold. I mean, this thing is fighting me every second, and I'm having to brace myself because this wind, you can feel it. I'll let you take it back to the studio there, Melissa.
Display of power. Joe Allgood, thank you very much. The
Wow.
high winds, yeah, isn't that incredible? Causing widespread power outages, also canceled events today. Hurricane-force wind gusts blew around debris, things that were left outside like trash bins at some homes.
Winds more than 60 miles an hour also reached the Alaska State Fair. At least 2 performances were called off. Several rides also put on pause as a precaution for wind gusts powerful enough to push trees over. Trees toppled over did cause some power outages today.
They're working hard to get those trees off the lines, get everything removed and repaired, and get the power back on as quickly as they can.
Manatuska Electric Association warns people to avoid opening and closing your freezers and fridges as much as possible, as power outages could happen into the night.
Well, the 2 children who were killed in a Minneapolis Catholic school shooting yesterday have been identified as 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky. They were killed when the shooter, identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman, fired 116 rounds through the windows of the Annunciation Catholic Church. Today, investigators say notes left behind showed that Westman was obsessed with the mass killings and the idea specifically of killing children.
The news puts pressure on schools across the country to ensure the safety of students. The Anchorage School District is answering the call and changing the way it responds to active shooters and other emergencies.
Lauren Maxwell explains what the district is doing to keep students safe compared to the training that it has had in the past.
In 2018, East High School held a controversial active shooter drill. Officers shot blanks in the hallways while students practiced barricading doors and hiding wherever they could. It's a scenario the district says
we're not going to do that in our schools.
Won't be happening again. Moving forward, ASD is changing from an active shooter training called ALICE to a standard response protocol, or SRP, that can be used in different situations.
We don't have this as kind of a standalone thing that just deals with a threat, and then we have a fire drill, then we have an earthquake drill or a hazmat. situation. It's all contained under one protocol.
SRP includes 5 actions: hold, secure, lock down, evacuate, and shelter that students and staff will practice twice a year. The district says the required drills for this new protocol are meant to be a lot less frightening for students. There's no instruction on fighting back or what happened once in 2018, the use of blank weapons during an active shooter drill. Also, drills will be tailored to different age groups, including younger children.
For a lockdown drill, we don't have to talk about, a bad person walking into the classroom with a weapon or anything like that. We want to talk about, okay, if we hear this over the intercom, here's the actions we take.
ASD says standardizing language and procedures across the district will help to keep everyone safe. Lauren Maxwell, Alaska's news source.
Tragedies like the Minnesota shooting will leave a permanent impact on the lives of children exposed to this extreme violence and even students in other states like ours.
Yep. Dr. Erin Newens joins us now. She's a psychologist who specializes in children, adolescent treatment. Dr. Erin, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry that it's under these circumstances.
Oh, terrible, heavy. Just to start, how would you simplify and explain a tragedy like this to a child who obviously cannot fully understand?
I think one of the reasons we have such a hard time answering that question is because we can't understand it ourselves. It's our job as the adults to understand these things and explain it to our kids, but this is really an unexplainable thing that's unfathomable. So I think the more important question is, how are we having those conversations? And the clearest, most basic answer is just that we need to be having them.
And Dr. Newens, for children who may be worried about going places after maybe seeing even news coverage or hearing about violence like this, how do you ease their mind?
That's a really great question. I think the problem is we might not be able to. And so the bigger question is, how do we help them learn how to handle that fear? So the most important first step is validating that. It's okay to be scared. We're scared too. And we can give some reassurance that you're safe. But then the key is, how do we talk about that fear and that it's okay to be scared, but what's important to us is that we're brave and we're going to keep doing the things that are important to us anyways. And that's the balance between being prepared for the worst case scenario, but also living our lives without the emotion of fear getting in the way.
Wow. One of the things today, the children that were killed were identified. And so we're thinking the kids that go to school with these kids, they just found out today maybe that their friends will no longer be coming back to the classroom. Talk about maybe the thought processes of children who are experiencing things like this and how we as a community can help them move forward.
It's almost two different answers. So the answer is going to be different for the kids who were in the school with those being their peers. That's really traumatizing. That's a trauma. And so we need to be responding with validation and support and really wrapping around those kids and giving communication and opportunities to give them help. And then the kids who maybe weren't there or weren't present but know those kids, or the kids here in Anchorage who are watching it on the news, it's all about helping those kids understand that their emotions are valid too and giving them an opportunity and a space that's safe to talk about it. So opening lines of communication, being curious about where their emotions are and what thoughts they're having about it, and really giving them an opportunity to talk about it.
Dr. Newens, thank you so much for your work on this.
We
Such an important topic.
Wildly
Thanks for having
important.
me.
Thank you. Well, not guilty. That's the plea from the owner and manager of Anchorage's Chelsea Inn, who the feds say used the hotel to store and distribute drugs.
A spokesperson with the U.S. Attorney's Office said today a judge granted pretrial release to Kyung Soo, a man listed in charging documents as an owner of the hotel after he was arrested on Friday. The manager of the hotel, Chantel Fields, remains in jail pending a detention hearing scheduled for next Friday. Both Sue and Fields also denied the criminal forfeiture action federal prosecutors filed in the complaint against them. Although the hotel was seized and shut down on Friday, as you can see on your screen, it's also boarded up. Court documents say the FBI and Anchorage police worked together in this years-long investigation of criminal activity at the Chelsea Inn Hotel.
Well, federal prosecutors say Sue and Fields had drug dealers live at the hotel and directed people to buy illegal narcotics there. In a press conference on Monday, federal prosecutors said the seizure of a hotel or residence in a case like this is something that has been in the federal arsenal for some time, but it's new to Alaska.
And then there is precedent across the country for seizing assets of this nature that are used in the criminal activity itself. It's not just that the proceeds were used to purchase the hotel, it's the use of that actual hotel or facility to engage in criminal conduct.
Sue retained private law firm Wiedner Rosano as representation. They have not responded to our investigative team's requests for comment today. On Tuesday, federal prosecutors expanded their forfeiture action to include more than $72,000 located in a global federal credit union account. This week in Alaska history, future Senator Ted Stevens got his first government job, and Governor Tony Knowles announced he would not appeal the Katie John subsistence case. That was a big moment in Alaska's history.
Also, August seems to be the month for whale strandings in Cook Inlet. In this week's episode, Tracy Sinclair and Eric Soule talk about a notable stranding back in 1996.
In 1996, there was a pod of 60 belugas that got grounded near Bird Point. And so Jason Moore and I went out and we did a package on that grounding. And we have that package here.
This is how we told that story back in 1996.
A rare situation out here.
Passing motorists on the Seward Highway.
12, 13, 14, something like that.
Gathered at Bird Point on Turnagain Arm.
What I'm seeing now is like 11 of them in a row. I count 11. I don't know how big they are because they're laying diagonal.
Looking at beluga whales stuck in the sand.
I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I just wish I could get a close-up view of them.
60 belugas got caught on a sandbar about a mile offshore.
60 belugas caught on a sandbar. You're going to want to check out that segment. Check out all the segments on our streaming platform, We the People. Hit that We the People tab.
And on this day in 2025, historic wind and rain hitting South Central.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.